Hey book nerds, welcome to my channel. So today I'm doing the Creatures of the Night book tag. This was created by Kat from Katie Fantastic, and I came across it because I was looking for content to do for Creature Feature-a-thon, which is a month-long readathon that is happening right now in April. We're near the end of April. It took me a long time to organise this content, but I really enjoyed taking part in Creature Feature-a-thon, and I just thought this is the perfect time to do this tag. So the way this tag basically works is there is a list of 10 creatures and you pick a book for each creature and you just talk about it. So let's get straight into it. The first creature is Vampire. So for this I've picked the House of Night series by PC and Kristen Cast. This is a 16 book series about essentially a vampire high school. So this girl is our main character and she's called Zeri Redbird, and she gets turned into a vampire, and the way it works in this universe is that you get marked and then you're not a full vampire like a fledgling and you have to live around adult vampires or you'll die, and then you either mature into a proper adult vampire or you die horribly. And these books are really absolutely insane. I'm going to do a read through of them at some point on my channel because I feel like everyone needs to know about the insanity of these books. I did genuinely love them at one point. I started reading them when I was 14 and I thought it was so much better than Twilight, and it was like, I thought it was so cool for reading these. And honestly, they just take this insane dive around the third book and it just never recovers. There's a lot of dating drama in this book. There's a lot of random awful pop culture references. For example, a gay character specifically singing the Defying Gravity from Glee. Oof. Yeah, that was a good moment. So yeah, these books I recommend if you want a good laugh, and if you are a teenager, you might enjoy them. Like I don't want to bash anything too hard. I had a soft spot for them because they were just that insane. But yeah, that's my vampire book. The next creature is Werewolf, and I'm kind of skipping this one because there are werewolves in some of the other things I'm talking about later on. But also, literally the only book I could think of was the Shiver series by Maggie Stiefvater. I don't really remember anything about this series apart from the fact that I thought the main characters were really dull. I liked the concept of the werewolves, and I didn't like any of the characters, and that's all I really remember, so I'm not going to go into too much detail about these ones, but I guess you can say that's my werewolf pick. The next creature is Zombies, and I have picked one of my favourite books. This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers. I don't think I've ever actually talked about this book on my channel. I love Courtney Summers. She's blown up because of Sadie, which is absolutely fantastic for her. I've been reading her for years and she deserves to have attention given to her. This Is Not a Test is essentially just a zombie apocalypse book, but it's about a group of people who get trapped in a high school, and it just focuses purely on character, and it's really bleak and has Courtney Summers' beautiful way of summarising horrifically tragic and traumatic things. And I just loved it. It was one of the... I picked it up not knowing it was a zombie book because I'd read her other books, which are all gritty contemporaries. And I should reread this soon, actually, because it's been a good 5 years now, and I loved it so much. And if you like zombie books, even if you don't like zombie books, because I don't think I like zombie books, but I love this, I would definitely recommend checking it out because it's just, for me, it's like the perfect way to do a zombie book. The next creature is Ghost, and for this, I'm sorry I'm talking about this book again, Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. Gonna keep it short, I talk about this book a lot. This is basically about an aging rock star who buys a ghost on eBay, and it scared me, genuinely scared me, which never happens with books. This is really, it's got a lot of violence in it, and there's some stuff that might be triggering, particularly with regards to suicide, so bear that in mind. But I recommend this book to anyone who loves horror, anyone who likes Joe Hill or Stephen King or anything like that. It's just a really solid ghost story. I had no idea where it was going. It genuinely creeped me out, and it uses the ghost concept fantastically. So yeah, go read it now if you haven't already. The next creature is witches, and I was going to talk about the Wicked Deep, but I realised that I've just finished The Lost Coast, and this is the perfect excuse to talk about it. So I'm going to talk about The Lost Coast by Amy Rose Capetta. I got an arc of this. I think it comes out next month, maybe. I think it comes out in May, I'm pretty sure. And this is about a group of witches who live in this town. And one of their group has essentially, her mind has gone missing, so she's still physically present, but she's not who she used to be. And these witches cast a spell to summon another person who can help them to the town. And this is Danny, who moves to this town. She has no idea she's a witch, and she meets this group of people, this other group of witches, and it's about her trying to help them with her magic while she doesn't feel like she belongs. All of the witches are really queer in different ways, which is fantastic. There is a female-female romance in this. There's several female-female romance things. And yeah, I really loved it. I don't know, I'm going to talk about it properly in my wrap-up, but to summarise, I've also got a blog post which I'll link down below. To summarise, it had really poetic writing, which I can see annoying some people, and it switches between chapters, between third person and first person. So Danny's chapters are told from her point of view, but the other chapters are third person, which is a bit weird, and I can see that bothering people. It took me a while to get into that as well. But this was just beautiful. I loved the way they did the witch stuff. I thought it was really cool. And yeah, I highly recommend it. So look out for my April wrap-up if you want to know more about it. The next creature is fairy, and I really struggled with this because I've got loads of fairy books on my TBR, but I haven't actually read any of them. So I went with, again, a book I've talked about probably too much at this point, and that is Lost Boy by Christine Henry. This is a horror retelling of Peter Pan. I'm classing it as a fairy because Peter Pan is kind of a fairy type creature. He's sort of like a fae. And it was the closest thing I had that I've read. So I'm not really going to talk about this again. I've talked about it loads and loads on my channel. So watch my favourite video, my favourite books video. Watch my favourite horror books if you want to hear my thoughts on it properly. But I love this book, and I like the way they do Peter as a creature. I think that's really cool. The next creature is Demon, and for this I got to pick one of my childhood favourites. I've got these in physical book form, but they are in a wardrobe somewhere. So I have Lord Lost by Darren Shan, which is the first in the Demonata series, all by Darren Shan. These books are extremely violent. They are kids' books. They're not really what I'd class as young adult. I'd say like 10 to 12-year-olds, around that age group. And the basic premise is that the main character moves to live with his uncle because his family gets murdered by demons. And then lots of stuff kind of happens within this world. I can't remember what's spoilers and what's not, so I'm not going to talk about it in any more detail. But this, I got kind of... These books got on my radar because Darren Shan visited my school, and I actually started with the fifth one, and I loved it. And they're really good horror books. They're really interesting stories. They go in really weird directions. There are werewolves in this, which is why I mentioned my werewolf thing, that I have books later on that could fulfill this. And you can see the werewolf on the cover. But yeah, this just was a really cool series. I don't know what it'd be like reading it for the first time as an adult, but I'd check it out and see what you think of the sound of it, and you might kind of enjoy it. The next creature is Angel, and for this I've picked Vicky Angel by Jacqueline Wilson. This is another kids book. Again, I'd say like the 10 to 12-year-old mark. Jacqueline Wilson's a really famous author. She's done loads and loads of kids books. She's known for doing kind of contemporary books that are gritty in some way. So like the Tracy Beaker books are the most famous ones, and they're about a child in care. Vicky Angel is about a girl whose best friend gets hit by a car and dies, and then she sees her friend as an angel following her around, and you don't know if her friend is really an angel or if she kind of is just hallucinating out of guilt and grief that her best friend is still there, because she's always been the shy one and she's been very dominated by her friend, and her friend continues to dominate her even in death. This is a very interesting book. I don't know if you'd really I didn't really appreciate it when I was younger, I should say, rather. And I reread it last year because it's super short, and I think it has some really interesting stuff to say, and it's a really cool idea, and it's one of the lesser known Jacqueline Wilson ones, I think, so I would say it's worth being aware of, if nothing else. The penultimate creature is aliens, and for this I had only one choice that I could really pick, and that is Ultraviolet by R.J. Sanderson. So, Ultraviolet I have not read since about 2012, maybe even younger actually. I can't remember how old I was when I read this, I wasn't very old. And Ultraviolet is... it's a book about a girl with synesthesia. I can't say that word, but it's when you see, it's the condition where you experience senses as other senses. So essentially you can taste words, you might see words as colours, that kind of thing. I think it's colour specific for this one, and she is in an institution. I can't remember when it's set. I don't think it's set in modern day. And this was a really interesting book, and the aliens are kind of a surprise at the end, so I guess I've sort of spoilt it, but also I think you need to know that aliens are in this, because I didn't know aliens are in it, and it just jerks you completely out of the story when you don't know that aliens are in it and suddenly there are aliens. And yeah, I need to reread this. I kind of want to, because I want to see what my reaction would be to it now, because I've always said that it was a really good book at the time, but I don't know if it still is, or if I was just more naive to reading than I am now. But yeah, that is my alien book. And the final creature is Superpowered Humans, and again there was only really one book series I could talk about, and that is Gone by Michael Grant. Again, I've talked about these quite a lot on my channel, but this is about a small town, and one day everyone over the age of 15 vanishes from the town, and only the children are left. And then the children all start developing superpowers, and there's like a weird dome over the city trapping them in, and it's really brutal. A lot of people just get murdered in horrific ways. It's a young adult book series. I absolutely adored it. I am due to reread it soon, because I no longer feel comfortable saying that it's a fantastic book series, because I don't remember how good it was, but I loved it at the time. And again, I love superheroes, but I haven't actually read that many superhero books, so there wasn't really many I could talk about that I've actually read. But yeah, that's my pick for this one. So yeah, that is my Creatures of the Night book tag. I'm not going to tag anyone for this, but if you're taking part in Creature Feature-a-thon and you haven't done this tag, I highly recommend doing it, because I think it's a really fun tag and it's a nice way to kind of do content relating to the readathon. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, it helps me out massively, and I hope to see you next time.